and welcome to another episode of Gone for the Win. It's going to be a fun one today. We're going to be talking about Oscars and the Baftas Awards, also the WGA Awards as well, because that was also out this week. One day they'll go back to being before the Oscars, so you can use them to predict the screenplays. But even then, it's not always that helpful, because they always eliminate make some screenplays ineligible. So but with that, I've got Dan here. Dan, how's it going?
Oh, it's been a busy week, Malcolm, and after today it's going to be an even busier week. So it's like today's my respite, yet it's been a busy day with screenings and screeners and writing reviews and posting to the website and all kinds of good stuff. But I had this penciled in and I didn't want to miss it for anything, because we got a lot to talk about.
Yep. But yeah, so again, just jump straight into it, going to the WGA. First off, I will say like some movies that was eligible included, it was just an accident and sentimental value, so they were nominated. But what was nominated, some of them was kind of interesting, but we'll get to it. But first I'll say is because I did quickly look at this up. One Battle After Another did win the USC Scripter, which is for adapted screenplay. But nominated for original screenplay, we've got Black Bag, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, Marty Supreme, Sinners, and Weapons. Dan, what are your thoughts about what was nominated for original screenplay?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great batch of films. Obviously, there's no foreign films in here, so that is probably an interesting thing. I don't see anything, but like Black Bag being here is really good because that's a fantastic script. Weapons being in here, that's a fantastic script. So that's in there, both original, interesting stories. So yeah, I like this batch of films. When you were naming them off, I was kind of like eyebrow raising a little bit, because I thought these are really good movies that had really good stories, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, I personally, I do wish that Sorry Baby was in here as well, because I do think that was great. But maybe it was ineligible for some reason. And
is she part of the Writers Guild?
I do not know. But yeah,
that might be the issue there. But
yeah, and when it comes to international movies like Sentimental Value and Just an Accident, as I said, they were ineligible off the bat. So that's probably because they're international. That's probably part of the reason they're not here.
Yeah.
But moving on to adapted screenplay, we've got Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamlet, One Battle for Another, and Train Dreams. When we get to the Oscars in a minute, this is basically the five we got for the Oscars. So
that's pretty good predicting on the Oscar voters' part that they got those five, and then here they just happen to be the five.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Writers Guild had a big part in those five getting nominated for the Oscars, you know?
I mean, quite possibly, but also one of these, it's one of those cases like none of these were really made ineligible for any reason. So
yeah,
so of course, I'm not too upset about this. Is basically what we get on the Oscars. Like, they're all very solid scripts. Like, I mean, I'm not that high on Train Dreams. Like, I personally don't think the script's there. Like, I think everything else, like the cinematography, all that is great. I'm just not a big fan of the actual story. But it was the writing was on the wall for that one. There was as we'll get to the Oscars, that was proven to be really a kind of a big player. Along with another one that as we'll get to, but we're going to transition to the Oscars right now. Going to the Oscars, and yeah, I want to start off. I want to start off in a different way this time, because there was some really interesting things happening here. Because Sinners is the most nominated movie of all time now, and like it's 6 nominations. And this is one of those cases where it's like it didn't have a double nomination anywhere. It got 16. It got in 16 different categories, and it's one of those ones like I think everyone know because when it was either Variety or Deadline when they said like, oh yeah, we're predicting Sinners going to be out for the 15 Oscars, going to break the records. Like, yeah, I like Sinners. I don't think it's going to happen, but it happened.
But can I just interject here real quick, Malcolm?
Yeah.
When people talk about oh that movie's not that good, it didn't deserve 16. How does it get? Well, in each one of those categories, there's a branch of voters. And each one of those voters thought it was one of the best 5 movies in that particular category or one of the best performances in that particular category. And so that's why it got a nomination in those 16 different categories. You can't correlate this to an overall thing. Best Picture, everybody votes on that. But each one of the categories, a specific branch votes on those categories. And so that branch thought it deserved that. And that branch thought it deserved. So that's how it gets 16 nominations. People usually, well, that movie's not that good. It doesn't work that way.
I mean, look, we get this every year where when a movie starts becoming very popular, it's like, oh, that movie's not so good, and they start turning on it. Because even One Battle After Another, which was like 13, I think the previous, from what I remember, the previous record was 14, which was
3 films. 3 films.
Yeah, and to make it even more impressive with Sinners, like there's only 17 possible categories it could have been nominated in. So the fact that it almost the only way any movie can get more than 17 is if they get a double nomination, something which wasn't the case. It could have been a case in song, but it wasn't.
It got other songs. You make a good point in song because a couple songs that we weren't predicting, and a lot of people were predicting got into songs. So it didn't mean that Sinners couldn't get 2 in songs, but it just didn't get 2 in songs.
We will get to that in a minute because I have read there was controversy about one of them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so like we had Sinners on the top of 16. One Battle After Another was really close on the other side of the record, just getting shy on 13. And then you got like Frankenstein, Mighty Swim, Sentimental Value with 9, Handed on 8, Begonia, F1, Secret Angel, Train Dreams got 4, and then a bunch of others got just 2. But with that, we're going to go to the nominations. Going to visual effects. Nominated for visual effects, you got Avatar, Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World Rebirth, The Lost Bus, and Sinners. I really wish I'd changed the nomination for got The Last Bus in my predictions because like that was one of those ones like I didn't like. Ever since we did the episode on predictions, I was looking at my Gold Derby sort of leading up to the Oscar nominations. Like, I've still got time to change anything. I don't want to change anything. And there was a couple of things I wanted to change, but I didn't, and it would have paid off if I did change it. I'm just putting it out there. But no, this is a good. I completely overlooked Jurassic World Rebirth, of course, like dinosaurs and all that. And it's crazy. Like this is only the second nomination for this franchise. The first one being Jurassic Park. So, while I would have loved to see Superman get in here, I'm not too unhappy with what did make the nominations. I've still really got to see Avatar Fire and Ash. I'll get around to it eventually. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the best visual effects?
Yeah, I had Superman as well, and I did last minute put the Lost Bus in there because it had been getting, but I didn't get Jurassic World either. But if you kind of think about it, one of the best parts about that movie are the visual effects. In the last couple Jurassic World movies, the visual effects weren't that good. This time they really are. But you also remember who's the director and who's involved with. Gareth Edwards also did creation a couple of years ago, and that got in for, I believe, visual effects in a few different categories that people didn't expect it to get into, right? So it kind of, if you do the math, you're like, man, I should have thought about that more often, and I might have come up with that prediction of Jurassic World. Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that being in, considering the last two movies were the visual effects, I didn't like them at all. This one's, the visual effects were much better in this one. But yeah, I mean, obviously we know Jurassic. I mean, Avatar's going to win this. I mean, it's like, forget about it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones like, well, yeah, the Avatar, like from what I've seen in the trailers, and the visual effects is amazing. I really wouldn't be surprised if like the Lost Bus takes it out. Well, it's not so much because I think Avatar: Fire and Ash, the visual effects is bad, but I wouldn't be surprised the Lost Bus causes the upset because a lot of people like, well, we gave it the award other times so that the visual effects and all that but the Lost Bus, it's done something different, and just the way that the visuals is really amazing, just because it's not the most flashy visuals of all time, but it's more like really subtle, but it's done in a way that's really good as well. So
yeah, no doubt about that at all, Malcolm. I totally agree. It was well deserved of the nomination.
Yeah. But moving on to best film editing, we've got F1, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Dan, what are your thoughts about the category for best film editing?
Well, we know editing and sound tend to go along with the Best Picture 10. 5 movies from the Best Picture 10 we're going to get into these categories, most likely. We'll talk about sound in a minute. But this is, I mean, F1's got amazing editing. So does Marty Supreme and One Battle. So these are very well edited movies. So it wasn't surprising for me to see these 5 in there in editing. This was there was no snubs or surprises at all in this category.
I'm with you. Like, there's nothing really like surprising at all. And yeah, I like as well. And it's one of those ones like people do overuse the word snub a lot as like it gets to a point like, because like a snub is something that you think has a shot at winning the award. It's like I've seen people go, "Oh, Wicked for Good was snubbed all across the board," which got no nominations. That I'm just putting out there that it got no nominations, but it's like
0.
But it's also one of those ones like, are you trying to say it really had a shot at winning anything? To be fair, and I'll get to my reasons for why I think it missed the categories it did.
And editing here, any one of these 5 could pull off the editing win.
Yeah,
it literally could go to any one of these 5 films, could get that Oscar. I think F1's got an incredible editing. I think When Battle's got amazing editing. You know, well, so I would imagine those would be the front runners, but you just don't know.
All right. Yeah. One Battle, like, I think is the one that is considered to be kind of the front runner for best picture at the moment. But although with the fact the Academy really loves Sinners, that could mean something different in the end.
It's going to be interesting. This might be one of the closest races we've had in a while.
Yeah. Moving on to best makeup and hairstyling, we've got Frankenstein, we've got Kokuho, Sinners, The Smashing Machine, and The Ugly Stepsister. Kokuho came out in error. I don't think anyone was predicting this to make it in. I hadn't really heard of the movie until the nominations were announced. Because I was on a stream with Rolf, it was like we both were like, "What is that movie?"
Well, I'll tell you what that movie is. Do you want to know?
Well,
because I've already seen it today. I actually seen it today, Malcolm.
Yeah, but did you know about it before the Oscars?
Yes, I was listening to the Next Best Picture podcast, and they had they had like 7 people on the podcast, and they all had Kokuo, so they all knew about the makeup. And when you see the movie, you'll understand what it's a movie. It's about kabuki actors, and they go these 2 guys, and they basically follow them for decades. And in kabuki, it's men actors dressing up as women, and they have to play characters as women, so it's actors with makeup the whole time. But it's also aging. They age these guys up throughout the movie, and it's a 3-hour movie, Malcolm. It's not a short movie. So I will tell you this, I've seen all 5 of these nominations, and this is amazing makeup, and I would not be surprised if Kokuo won for makeup and hairstyling. But you and I both we predicted The Ugly Stepsister. We got to see the movie again recently. We did the interview with the makeup and hair people and the prosthetics people for that movie. And so we were kind of rooting for that movie. Both of our predictions came through in that. And so I was happy about that with The Ugly Stepsister. But Kokuo, trust me, Malcolm, it's well worth it. It's well deserved. And there's a good chance it could win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I still would put my money on Frankenstein winning. Honestly,
because it's the best picture contender.
Well, not so much that, but I think it's just the makeup and stuff is really stunning in that. Is like, and not saying not saying Coco isn't. Like, as I said, I don't know too much about it myself. You obviously do, but it's just and. This is one of those times where something that Dan always says may not actually happen this year, because Dan always says makeup and hairstyling goes with one of the acting awards. So unless, and we'll get to it when we get to the acting, but unless the same thing that happened at the Globes happens here, we might not have a makeup correlating with acting this time around, because the only movies that it can happen for is Frankenstein and Sinners.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's happening, because I think there's a strong front runner in both those categories that they're nominated in.
Yeah, Jacob Elordi, I think it would be the best chance to have a correlation between makeup and an acting win. And if he won, I think that would be a surprise to a lot of people.
Well, we'll get
not
to
saying
it.
He's not deserving. We're not saying he's not deserving. I think people would be surprised if he did win. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we'll get to it when we get to it, but
yeah.
Because I think Sinners, in that same category, I think Sinners could have a good shot too. But as I said, I'll explain what I mean by that when we get to it. But moving on to Best Costume Design, we've got Avatar: Fire and Ash, we've got Frankenstein, we've got Hamnet, got Marty Supreme, and we got Sinners. And I'm going to do the elephant of the room here, and the couple of them. First off, the reason I think Wicked for Good didn't get in here, as a lot of people predicted, a lot of the costuming is basically the same as part one. There's some different costumes that they have in here. Like, you've got the Tin Man, you got the Scarecrow. Depending on whether you want to argue it from that it should be makeup or anything. But I think the large majority of the costumes and the makeup was stuff that they were nominated for in part one. And they didn't really do that much different, I think, to get people to go, oh yeah, people still vote for Wicked for Good here. Like, there's probably only 2. I mean, it's one of those ones, like, in my predicting, I was still really bullish. I was like, I'm keeping Wicked for Good here. I'm determined they're going to get nominated. I listen to my head. If I listen to my heart, if I listen to my heart, if I listen to my head, it's like, I'm going to take the risk and take them out for something. And the other elephant in the room here is, so I've seen a lot of people go, "Oh, are we counting digital costumes and stuff?" Is like, so with Avatar: Fire and Ash, like all the costumes, they are room made as physical costumes. Because this is something that because I was doing a podcast on, it was either said day, yeah, it would have been said day, with Aaron Canal. We were talking about the Oscars and stuff, and like he was saying that all the costumes were physically made. Like there's physical costumes for the actors to get the sizing right, and then they do just digitally put into the computer. So the costumes were made. Like they are physical costumes, even though they were digitally inserted into the computer. If that makes any sense. And I think that's fair game. Like if the costumes were still physical, then it counts, regardless on if what you see on screen is physical or CGI.
Plus, there's human characters. There are human characters that are on screen that are wearing costumes. So that's you can't discount that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They're wearing, like, all the people, all the human characters that aren't the Na'vi characters are all wearing costumes, and they all have interesting costumes, if you ask me, like military-looking costumes or like boating clothes, or I don't know what kind of costume. I haven't seen the movie in almost 3 months. It's been 2 months. It's been since I saw the movie, but yeah, I mean, I still think. Be honest with me, Malcolm. You're pretty surprised that this got in over Wicked, right?
I mean, not really. I mean, I'm surprised, yes, but I'm not too upset with it either, because once again, this only comes in from the trailers. Like the costumes I see in the trailers did look really good. Like, and as I said, like to what I said, like. A lot of the costumes in Wicked, there is basically the same stuff they used for the part one. So it's like,
I thought there was different dresses for Galinda and Elphaba's characters, and then you have the military characters, the uniforms for them. I don't know. Just I don't know. I guess this character was going to be a light category this year, so they came up with what they came up with. I don't know. It's
I mean, it's one of those ones. I get what you're saying about the new costumes they added to Wicked for good, but it's one of those ones like I don't know if that was necessarily enough.
Yeah.
But that being said, Dan, what do you think of the nominations anyway?
Sorry for interrupting you. I was having more of a conversation.
That's fine. It's fine.
It's just I look at it like this. I think Wicked deserved to be nominated in this category. Okay. Now, obviously, the Academy thought differently because they did something totally different. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think Wicked should have been knocked out for Avatar in this particular category. It doesn't mean I don't like Avatar, because I do like Avatar. You saw I did my top 10 of the year, and it was on number 7 or 8 or something like that on my top 10 list. So I do like Avatar. But it just shows you that maybe the category as a whole this year wasn't as busy, as there wasn't enough choices for them to choose from, that they snubbed that and they put that in, because I don't think a lot of people had Avatar in here. But I mean, I think it's going to be Sinners or Marty Supreme is probably going to pull off the win here, I think. Anyway, but I don't know. You just don't know, because this is kind of an up in the air category at this point.
See, I mean, I'm kind of the opposite here, and once again, a little bit bias here, because I think it's one of those things. I don't think anyone had a Avatar fire in action here, because they didn't think it would have counted because of the CGI-ness of the costumes. Right. No one was looking at the production is like, oh, they actually wear physical costumes. Maybe we get nominated. It was only after the fact when they actually looked it up and all that, But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like, see, I think Frankenstein could win this season.
Oh wait, yeah, oh yeah, oh well, the dresses for Mia Goth and all that. Oh yeah, the coats.
Well, once again, I'm not just saying it because it's a New Zealand nominee.
No, I agree. I forgot all about that, Malcolm. I'm glad you mentioned it. No, the dresses for Mia Goth and the coats and the jackets and stuff that the guys were wearing and stuff. Oh my God, some amazing stuff.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones like nothing against like Sinners and that because I think a lot of the Oscar voters could see was well given Movie Carter the award like twice
already.
Yeah, so it's like so they may give it to someone different. And I do think like the costumes things I think were better than all these nominations personally, and but yeah, I mean. And it's quite funny. It's like I see it on my Facebook. It's like on the New Zealand news, like they were running, like they were talking about the Oscars, and they talked about Sinners being the most nominated horror movie, then they talked about the New Zealand nominees, and like they didn't mention Kate Hawley at all. It was like, dude, Frankenstein is a New Zealand costume designer. Put some respect on that.
Wow.
They mentioned Avatar for visual effects because it's Reddit, but it's like they didn't talk about Frankenstein. It's like,
and you got your new citizen of New Zealand, James Cameron.
Yeah. But moving on to best cinematography, which was Frankenstein, Mighty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Train Dreams. This is pretty much what we expected. Like, and
I don't have any surprises. There was no surprises in this category. No. I went 5 for 5 in at least 6 or so categories. It's just the ones I didn't go 5 for 5 that messed my nominations up.
Yeah. I mean, most of the ones I didn't go 5 for 5 in is because I did I kept Wicked in my predictions until it was too late to change them. But moving on to production design, we've got Frankenstein. We've got Frankenstein, Hamlet, Mighty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. We're going to get used to hearing those movies because, as we said earlier, you're going to hear them a lot. But it's one of those ones like, once again, like if Wicked for Good was going to get in anywhere, this would have been another one. But once again, I don't think like the two new sets. Well, when you technically one because you had Elphaba's cave because the castle that she had that it was that cave thing where
the cave and the castle.
Well, the castle, like you saw more of the castle in part 2, but you did see it briefly at the start of part 1 because they started off the whole like back
Framing
in time and then go. Yeah, you start off in the castle in the first movie, but even then, like it's still two new sets, and once again, like. It wasn't. I don't think it was enough to sort of for it to take out any of these, but it was also going to show sort of how strong production design is as well. Because I think, and I've still got yet to see Mighty Supreme. It only just came out last week. I just haven't had the money or the time at the same time to see it. But I've got no complaints here. So yeah.
No, I agree with you. That's probably the only one that would have, we all could have possibly had Wicked in here and maybe Avatar, but at the, this is fine. I mean, this is what I think we could have most likely predicted,
Yeah.
Yeah. And Frankenstein, I think is probably going to win, but you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones like you did mention Avatar from James Stein. I think that is one that might be a little bit of a stretch because, like, once again, it depends on how they did the production. I've had this debate when it comes to production design a lot in my head, like, because granted, you have to design the sets that you want the computer to do, but it's also one of those ones like it's still at the end of the day it's still CGI scenery and all that. It's like so it's like, does that count as visual effects or production design? Who knows? But yeah, so But moving on to the new award, which is Best Casting, we've got Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, and Sinners. This nomination set still doesn't really help me understand what they're looking for in this category, whether it's like the strength of casting or ensemble and all that. Because it's one of those ones like you got Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Sinners, which is just a good ensemble. Then you got The Secret Agent and Hamnet. Hamnet is a really good a decent ensemble. It's still like 2, maybe 3 sort of really no names in that cast. And then The Secret Agent is like, depending on, and I'm trying to be careful with my words here, is like, because I don't know how big of a star Ragnar Moore is in Brazil. Like, I've not really known much about him until The Secret Agent came out. Apparently
he's a big star. He's a big star.
Although, what I was getting at is, as I found out later, he was the voice of Wolf and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But the rest of the cast is not really that known. It's like so it still doesn't really help understand what they're looking for in this cast, in this award. But I think this is still a good lineup for best casting anyway. But Dan, what are your thoughts about best casting?
No, I think it determines. There's 2 criteria, and I think I talked about this before, Malcolm. I think it's either going to be they're going to say this is a second place award, which I believe they're going to deem whatever film wins this award will be the second place, and criteria number 2 is a well-established casting director that's been in Hollywood for many, many years. And if you go by the two other awards that we've already gotten already, the Critics' Choice and the Golden Globes, those 2 criteria came into play because the lady from Sinners walked up there and got the trophy. I forgot her name. And then the second place award for most cinematic achievement, blah, 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 at the Golden Globes was given to Sinners. So I think they're combining those 2 awards into one award here. And I believe Sinners is going to win. And that lady's going to go up and accept an Oscar for Best Casting Director. That's my perception, what I feel and what I think they're going to do with this award. But you don't know because we haven't had it before. We need, which I believe you said in the past, we need 3 or 4 years under our belt with this to really determine what we think is going to happen with this. But I think it's a second place award, Malcolm. And I think it's also going to an established, or it's going to go to an established casting director. Those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones I wouldn't consider like best casting be like the second place award. It's probably to me. I see it. It may be something. Then they may determine to be like, well, I mean, it's not so much. See, I don't see it as second place award. I see it. It's like this movie just had a good cast all around. So it is what it is. Like, however it's decided, or however it's voted on, like we won't know. Like, it's one of those awards that's like really hard to kind of predict on where it's going because we just haven't had it before. But moving on to best sound, nominated we've got F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Surat. I think this is a good lineup here. Like, I don't have any issues with any of these. Like, it's kind of what we kind of expected. And as we kind of predict with Surat sort of being a big dominant force is what it is, like that broke into the sound categories as well. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the best sound category?
Yeah, it was in the long list or whatever you call them, the short lists or whatever you call them at the Academy Awards. And so people thought, okay, there's a good chance because of the but I just between me and you, Malcolm, I just feel like that this music and a little bit some explosions and some stuff like that. I don't think that's just like the most great sound. I would have rather have had like something Avatar in here that had amazing sound all over the place, all kinds of different kinds of sounds, and you had to make creature sounds and water sounds and military sounds and all kinds of types of sounds and stuff like that, where I feel like maybe like an Avatar, if it was on the long list, I don't know if it was or not, because I don't remember what was on the long list or the short list or whatever they call them right now off the top of my head, but maybe it just wasn't on there. Maybe it couldn't have got on. I don't know, but I know people have been bullish on Surratt in sound for a little bit now, and so I think that it makes sense that it got in, because these are basically the 5 that a lot of people were predicting. But I saw Surratt, and that kind of hip hop kind of like music without the words kind of stuff. I don't know if it's my cup of tea, but I think F1's got a legitimate shot at winning here. We'll talk about F1 in picture, but this is part of its package. It really had a nice little three nomination package, which kind of pushed it into Best Picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
F1?
Yeah, no, it did. But yeah, I don't really have much to add to this at all. Like, but but moving on to Best Original Song, we've got Dear Me from Diane One Relentless, Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters, I Lied to You from Sinners, Sweet Dreams of Joy from Viva Verde, and Train Dreams from the movie Train Dreams. But and just quickly, so there is a controversy about Sweet Dreams of Joy that I've found kind of resurface up recently, because apparently it was recorded and released in July of 2017. So the movie itself was released last year, from what I understand. I don't know, but apparently the song, this movie has been in production since about 2017, which was when the song was recorded, and apparently it was released then. So whether or not the Oscars determine it to be like original for the movie, if it was released back then, or if they disqualify it, I haven't found any official sort of source confirming this. I've just found some Reddit threads and stuff that is kind of talking about it. And there was an article in the New York Times which I can't read. But yeah, so that's definitely and it's definitely an interesting one there. If that is proven to not to be one that just gets eliminated in the end when it comes to the actual voting. But other than that, I mean, look, it's one of those ones like, yeah, I was wrong. The Diane Ron song got in, but I was like, as I said, it's also one of those ones that I wouldn't be too surprised if it missed, because whether or not, because I just wasn't sure if people were going to remember the documentary and then the honorary Oscar last year. But like Golden, I Lied to You, Train Dreams, I don't think it's a very bad lineup, and it's also going to be interesting to see, because there's not a lot of songs here aside from Golden. Like, there's not really a lot of songs here that would be a really big sort of performy song for the Oscars either. So it's going to be interesting to, and I don't think they've confirmed if their songs will be performed or not. They might do what they did last year and just not do the performances, which I think not performing Golden is a mistake. That one should be at least performed at some part, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do perform it at some stage. But another one that I think I don't because I think Conan is hosting again, but I said this in the past because and once again when we get to the acting nominations, this will explain a little bit better. But the past few years when there's been a real life a movie slightly based on based around an actual living singer, quite often they've gotten that singer to perform, open up the Oscars. Like you had Queen open up the Oscars when Bohemian Rhapsody was nominated a lot. You had Elton John perform at the Oscars when Rocketman was nominated. Albeit it was just nominated for song, but he still performed at the Oscars. So I wouldn't be surprised if this year you get like Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson performing a Neil Diamond song with Neil Diamond himself, because and I'm going to spoil it now, but like Kate Hudson did get in for Best Actress, but I wouldn't be surprised if they open up the Oscars with a Neil Diamond song, but because of that. But anyway, we're talking about original song. Anyway, Dan, what do you thought about the lineup for original song? I know I've ruffled on a lot.
Yeah, I know this is a big category that you like a lot, Malcolm. This is your kind of jam. You love the music categories. But I think you kind of hit on something there when you were talking, that the name of the song is Golden, even though it's from K-pop Demon Hunters. The Oscars, when they hand them out, they're a gold trophy. The aesthetic of the Academy Awards is gold. You know,
yeah,
that seems like it would be. What was the one we don't talk about? We don't talk about Bruno, where they opened up the show with that a few years back. This would be the most. It seems like an obvious spot for them to do Golden at the beginning of the Academy Awards, so they get the song performance out there, and they open up with something that's maybe it's kind of correlating to the Academy Awards as a whole, because it's Golden. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm reaching. I don't know, Malcolm. But I actually don't think that they did a good job with this category this year. First of all, I don't think the Diane Warren song needed to be in there. I predicted it, because I'm not saying anything about anybody that didn't predict it. I just, with her being beloved in that branch, I predicted it. So I got that. But like the Viva Verde song, I didn't think Train. Like they could have gotten. You talk about performances, Malcolm. We could have gotten Miley Cyrus from Avatar. We could have gotten Ed Sheeran from F1. We could have even gotten Ariana Grande from Wicked, and they chose not to nominate any of those songs. And I think they really dropped the ball in the song category. That's just my opinion. I just think you have opportunities to get these three people singing those songs on your show, and you're gonna Viva Verde with the controversy, and then Diane Warren. Like, I think people are just over Diane Warren at this point. You know what I mean? And then Ariana Grande, one of the biggest stars in the movie. She's in the movie as an actor, playing a character, and she sings an original song, which I think is the best song of the movie, and that The Girl in the Bubble. But I don't know, Malcolm. I was just kind of disappointed by what they went with this in this case.
So to touch on something you said, like that song "Dear Me," like it wasn't in the movie. It was performed by Kesha. So like if anyone performs that song at the Oscars, it's going to be Kesha. Okay. She's still a known person, and also,
right.
I mean, Nick Cave isn't that unknown either. Like. He may be lesser known in the States, I don't know, but because you may know his band more than Nick Cave and the Black Seeds. That's the Train Dream song is a really good song.
I don't dislike it. Don't get me wrong. Don't think I don't like the song. I do like it, but it's just like, come on, you could have gotten some massive major people on your show performing songs from these movies, movies that basically people saw. Like people saw Wicked, people saw Avatar, people saw F1.
Yeah, I mean, and while I was like getting to in a bit. It's like, and with Wicked for Good, I think there's an entirely a good possibility that that the original song Branch, they couldn't decide which one they liked best, and the Wicked songs ended up splitting the vote so much that neither of them got enough votes to get in there, which would explain how Viva Verde maybe snuck in there. Because it was on the short list. It wasn't just one that just came out of nowhere. It was on the short list. But because, and I think, like with Sinners, I think I Lied to You was just that popular from Sinners, and I think everyone really liked that song. Judging the fact that that was the one that was beginning and everywhere. So I think it's and it's one of those ones, like, the reason I was talking about Golden is, like, that's just very, very popular song in general. So, and I wasn't so much thinking of the fact that it's like, well, gold statue, that they need to perform it. But it's like, if you don't perform the most popular song that's in that category, then you're making a mistake if you in that regards. But I mean, it is what it is.
And they've done it before. What was the Barbie year, Malcolm, with Ken? They put that song where it was a big production in the ceremony. You know what I mean? As part of the ceremony. So they do that with the big popular songs like that. So that's why I think Golden just lends itself to being a major part of the ceremony. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those ones, like, as of yet, we just don't like. We just have, I don't think they've confirmed anything about song performances. I don't think they've even confirmed percentages yet either. But sticking on the music train, we're going to move on to Best Original Score. And nominated, we've got Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. And once again, I'm not overly surprised. Like, a lot of these is what I predicted. Like, I know there's a lot of people that was like a big fan of the Marty Supreme score. But at the end of the day, I think all these scores are great. It was just a good year for score in general. But Dan, what are your thoughts about Best Original Score?
Yeah, I went 5 for 5 in this category. People were talking, the Begonia score is probably not going to get in. Well, I predicted that score and I got in. Dirksen, Pendrix, now I'm getting his name wrong because I don't have it in front of me. Dirksen Pendrix or whatever it is. I got that Begonia score in. I honestly think these are the 5 best scores. I mean, in a very good year for score. And a lot of people had thought maybe the F1 was going to get in for score. You know what I mean? Hans Zimmer. But I actually think these are the 5 best scores. And I was glad to see all 5 of these, not because I predicted them, but I really think these are the 5 best. And I was bullish on House of Dynamite. And, people, that's too similar to Conclave. So I think I did good. And so I'm patting myself on the back here, Malcolm.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk too much about the short form categories. I'm just going to mention them. Live action short form was nominated for Butcher's Stain, A Friend of Dorothy, Jane Austen's period drama, The Singers, Two People Surrounding Saliva. Best animated short form was Butterfly Forever Green, The Girl Who Cried Pearls, Retirement Plan, and Three Sisters. And then documentary short was All the Empty Rooms, Only for the Camera, The Life and Death of Brent Renard, Children No More Were and Are Gone, The Devil is Busy, and Perfectly Estrangedness.
And I will say this, Malcolm, I will be getting all 15 screeners, and I will have an article on FromTheFourthRow.com, capsule reviews of all 15 screeners. So very, very soon. So that's something I do every year. I get the screeners once they get nominated, and then I watch them, and I do a little capsule review of each one so people can go to the site and see that. And Singers is on Netflix. I know that.
Yeah. But moving on to documentary feature film, nominated, we've got The Alabama Solution, Come See Me in the Good Light, Cutting Through Rocks, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and The Perfect Neighbor, still managing to get in. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a big documentary person. Like, people know mine and Dan's thoughts about The Perfect Neighbor already, but I mean,
I'm getting a screener of this any day now, Malcolm, of Mr. Nobody versus Putin. So I should be getting a screener of that. I'm going to get to see that. Come and see me in The Good Light. I think that's on Apple. Two of the other ones are on Netflix. So if people want to see them, they're on Netflix. The Perfect Neighbor. What was the other one that's on Netflix? There's another one that's on Netflix. I don't know.
Alabama Solution.
Is it the Alabama? Maybe that's on PBS, CNN. I don't know. I could have swore I thought there was there's two American ones, so they're both on. One's on PBS here in the States, CNN. You can see it. That's the Alabama. The other's on Netflix, and then the other's on Apple. And then I'm getting a screener of Mr. Nobody vs. Putin.
Alabama Solution is on HBO Max.
That's it. Yeah. I always try to give people the location where they can see these if they haven't seen them. I know it's not always easy to find this stuff. You know what I mean, Malcolm? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cover Up. Did the Cover Up get in there?
No.
Oh, it didn't. Oh, my apologize. That's on Netflix.
But yeah, I like, it's one of those ones, like, as I said, I'm not really a documentary. I don't go. Documentary's not the first one I go to. Is that especially if it's like, there's nothing here.
I was pretty upset though, Malcolm. I mean, and I don't want not to interrupt. I mean, why not 2,000 meters to Andriivka? Just because Ukraine has already won 2 years in a row. That doesn't mean that means you should nominate another Ukraine documentary. That was pretty freaking crazy of a documentary, man. It literally follows these guys when they're trying to get through this wooded area into this town. And it's like these reporters and stuff, they're getting bullets. They're literally taking bullets and stuff. So that one's kind of disappointing, if you ask me, that didn't get in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the one that was PBS CNN is 2,000 meters to Andriivka. But I think they really they might have dropped the ball with a couple of these. I would have liked to seen a few other different ones in here, but
I mean, look, the documentary branch are going to documentary branch.
But it's odd that they get the most popular one, right? Isn't that kind of weird in a way? The quote unquote front runner, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, they don't always. I don't think they. From what I've sort of looked, and I don't go into this one thing. They don't always snub the front runner. Quite often, the front runner will sometimes sneak in a nomination, but it just doesn't win the category. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I can see sort of I can see maybe the Mr. Nobody versus Putin one win just because once again it relates to war of stuff going on.
Russia. It's journalists in Russia and stuff like that. So that could end up pulling off the win, like you said. You make a lot of sense there with that assessment.
Yeah, but moving on to best international feature film, we've got It Was Just an Accident, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Surat, and The Voice of Hind Rajab. But yeah, we didn't get the Neon 5. We got 4 of the 5. No other choice, just didn't get in. And I don't know if it's a case of the Oscars just upset with Park Chan-wook for something, or
not. Could be right. Go ahead.
But or if it's just a case like The Voice of Hind Rajab was just did a better job at campaigning.
I don't know about that, Malcolm. I think that they just weren't. They had a problem with Park Chan-wook. They had a problem with that movie in general. If you look at how what it was doing, it did get into the Globes, okay, but it was kind of like not getting in places that you thought it would get in if it was going to get into this category this year. You know what I'm saying? And they had a problem with this movie for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason was. It could have been, like you said, Park Chan-wook. But Hind Rajab is actually a movie that kind of deals with the situation over in overseas in the Middle East and stuff. So that kind of makes sense that it kind of got in here over no other choice. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I mean, the other ones, I went 4 for 5 with international feature because I had all 4 of the Neon 4, and then I think what did I go? I did go with all 5 of the Neon movies.
Yeah, I think we all kind of did that. But yeah, it's and actually no, it's one of the really enough. I think I have heard of this because I think in passing because I think I've heard them talking about this movie when I've looked at it because it's about like a 6-year-old girl that was sort of trapped in the car and all that in the Gaza Strip. So I have heard about this somehow. Because I think I heard people going like, oh, why are they making a movie is like about this like 6-year-old girl? Like I don't think anyone wants to kid like something like that. I think it's something like that. But
and the other thing is that they have a bias against Korea. I was thinking about that. They have a bias against Korean movies. I saw this on a few different podcasts where they were saying that the Oscars seem to have some kind of a bias towards, other than Parasite. You know, you said, well, how about Parasite? Well, other than Parasite, in that particular year, they have a bias towards Korean films. I
was about to say, like, the only reason I mentioned Park Chan-wook specifically is decision to leave from a few years ago also did not get into international feature film.
Yeah.
So that is why I specifically talked about Park Chan-wook.
Good point that you brought that
but
up.
It's also one of those ones that after reminding myself on what Voice of 100 Up is about, because I do remember hearing about this a long time ago, because it just kind of passed my mind at some stage, and I think because of what it's about, and it could be the political statement that Oscars might want to go for. Well, either that or it was just an accident. Either one of those two, like, could go that way. I wouldn't be surprised if the Voice of 100 Up somehow manages to put out the win because of the content of the movie.
Well, I think with the amount of nominations for sentimental value, I think that's going to win. But I mean, you never know. You just never know.
Yeah. Look, I love sentimental value. I wouldn't mind that winning. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to that winning. I'm just saying that if because knows how sometimes the Oscars may do a win for political reasons as a way of making a statement against this kind of atrocity that is happening around the world.
Well, it was just an accident with Jafar Panahi. Maybe they want to give it to him in that movie. You know what I mean? Because he's Armenian. He had to flee Iran and stuff, you know, and he's a prisoner now. I believe, isn't he a prisoner in Iran or something now, or something?
Well, okay. Well, yeah. No, I get that, and then in a very different way, but based on very recent stuff that is happening in the States, the secret agent is another one that because of a political reason. So you've got 3 movies here, which is very heavily political, and one of them could end up pulling out the win. And honestly, if I was to pick one that has the better shot at maybe doing it, if that's the case, The Secret Agent is probably the one I'd look at too, just because it has won a few things in other award shows. So
and it did break into the casting category, which is a surprise to most people.
Well, not just the casting areas we'll get to, but
other categories. But I will just say the one good thing for sentimental values, besides all 4 of the actors getting into their categories, is it's about the movie industry. It's about a director trying to cast his movie. So they might be like sentimental for sentimental value.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on from international feature film, we're going into animated. Moving on to the animated feature film. And nominated in animated, we've got Arco, which I didn't realize it till now. Natalie Portman is a producer on that movie. We've got Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie, or the character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. And when it's K-pop's to win. Like, this is the 5 we predicted. It wasn't a strong year for animation last year.
Nope.
And I don't like. I mean, as well as looking at some of the animated movies coming up this year, I don't know if this year's any better.
I'm seeing
but
one this week called The Goat from Sony, and Scarlet from last year that I'm just getting around to seeing this week. So I'm seeing two, one from last year, one from this year.
I mean, I've heard things about Goat. Goat doesn't look that good, but you never know. It could be one of those ones that ends up being a surprise. Who knows? But we've also got like Toy Story 5 for this year. We've got Hoppers. We've got but some other things. But yeah, and it's one of those ones like, considering on how Elio did at the box office, now I am surprised that Pixar still got in. But then again, it's like, what would you put it into its place? The Bad Guys 2. It's like,
I love the Bad Guys too, but nobody saw that.
I mean, you can say the same about Elio, to be honest. I think more people probably saw it when it was on Disney Plus, but no one went to the cinemas to see it.
No, I agree. I mean, it was a bad year. Look, you said it at the top. It was a bad year for animated films. And look, a lot of your animated contenders for next year, Malcolm, are going to come out in the first half of this year. There's not a lot of animation coming out in the second half of the year. You got Toy Story 5. You got Mario. You got Hoppers. You got Gato. You got The Goat. You got some big players in the first half of this year. We could be talking about next year.
Well, there is a couple that's coming out near the end of the year, because there is a new Disney animated movie called Hexed, which there's not a lot of information about. And then there's a DreamWorks movie, I think it's called Forgotten Island or something like that. So, but yeah.
And you don't know what other foreign animated films are going to come out in the meantime.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. But yeah, but that was the animated feature film. Like, it's pretty much the 5 that we kind of thought was going to happen. And it's one of those ones. If anything was going to take out Elio, I'm still 100% certain it probably would have been Demon Slayer, if anything, just because of how well that did. But moving on to the screenplays, we kind of already talked about this. But adapted screenplay, we've got Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Better After Another, and Train Dreams. There's not really much more we need to say about this. It's probably going to be one battle at the end of the day.
Its original screenplay, that was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes or no, but
not surprising, but surprising considering what got in, what didn't get in. We knew one of these was going to be a contender to get in. And one, Julia Roberts mentioned one at the Golden Globes, and she was like, "Sorry, baby, everybody should." Unfortunately, it didn't translate.
Yeah, but moving on to original screenplay, it's got Blue Moon, It Was Just an Accident, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. I mean, it's one of those ones, like, the way I see it, like, this was just a very, like, stacked category in a way. It was like, because there was like 7 different sort of ways this, like, could have gone. Like, Weapons, I think was the legit shot to sneak in. Sorry Baby was a legit shot. Sorry Baby just kind of fell off. Like, it really kind of disappeared. But at the end of the day, a lot of this is stuff we kind of predicted that was probably end up going to happen. Like, I was still like, the MWA thoughts about original screenplay for the Oscars.
Yeah, it was down to about 7 or 8, like you said, and Blue Moon was in that mix. So the fact that got in there, and it's about the movie industry, and it's about writers, in the movie industry, kind of Hammerstein, Rogers and Hammerstein, writers of a lot of plays back in the day that Broadway musicals and stuff like that. And it was a talky movie. The script is really strong because of the dialogue from Ethan Hawke and Adam Scott and Margot Qualley and others. So that's kind of, there's some good monologues in it. So it's a talky script, you know what I'm saying? So I could see where if you put it together, 1 + 1 = 3, you know what I mean? Plus, yeah. So it makes sense that it got in here, but it could have been any of the ones we were talking about. It was Weapons was a popular one that people thought, okay, that could be an upset, you know what I mean? Sentimental Value is one I would have liked to have seen, get championed as well, because I like the script from that. That's but I'm not upset with Blue Moon getting in here. I mean, I would have liked to seen the underdog, Sorry Baby, get there, and Ava Victor get the talk on the red carpet and whatever, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason part of the reason I thought Weapons could get into screenplay is because I thought that maybe it would get into Best Picture, and I think if it was to get into Best Picture, it needed to get something more than supporting actress. So I thought, well, original screenplay I think is the only other potential it could maybe get into, that or makeup and that, and to create a package for it. But that it just didn't translate in the end. But moving on to supporting actor, nominated we've got Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo getting the Spies nomination for Sinners, Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. And Delroy Lindo getting in here for Sinners has made the space a little bit more interesting. Because if the One Battle After Another boys split, as what I've been suspecting is what has been happening lately, then you've got the one of three option here. Where you got, will it be Jacob Elordi, the newcomer for Frankenstein, who did a really good performance, or will it be the career Oscars for either Stellan or Delroy Lindo, and be as a so you probably should have been nominated a few other times, but here, this is for you. I mean, granted, if Stellan wins it, he definitely deserved to set it for Sentimental Value 100%. Like, I'm not trying to say he doesn't deserve it, but it's one of those ones like you can now say the same for Delroy Lindo. It's like there's been a lot of times where people was like, oh, Delroy should have got in for the Five Bloods, and it's like he's been acting a lot long, so I think there is a legit possibility he could end up winning, and causing a bit of an upset here, making this race a little bit more interesting. Obviously, we've still got SAG and BAFTAs that go, like, we don't know what's happening with those.
And Delroy's not in SAG.
Yeah, he's not on the SAG list, but even then, like, as I said, as I said a few times, this could be a year where we get like many different like winners for supporting actor because of various circumstances. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the lineup for supporting actor?
Yeah, I think everybody had Paul Mescal in here, and you don't like when people say, "Oh, snub," because it's not a snub if he didn't have a chance of winning. Look, everybody had Paul Mescal in their predictions. That everybody thought Paul Mescal was going to be in here, and he's been in a lot of other award shows, and he's in other has been nominated in other things. So it's kind of surprising that Paul Mescal got it. But if you look at this particular group of this nominee, this edition of the Academy Awards, there's some makeups. I call them makeups for past mistakes that they've made, or whatever you want to call it, however you want to use it. But I feel like they've done a few of those in this particular edition of the nominees for this particular Academy Awards. And one of them is Delroy Lindo for The Five Bloods. I believe that's what this is. This is a makeup. And we know the Academy has done makeup. If you go back 50 years, you go back a long time, where they're giving people awards, and then as years progress, they make up, oh, they didn't get it for that, so they're going to get it for this. Oh, they didn't get it for that, they're going to get it for that. And all it is causing problems. It causes more problems in the end rather than it solving a problem, if you ask me. But I would have rather seen Paul Mescal get in here because I think he's amazing in Hamnet. But they did get Delroy Lindo in here, so we can't do anything about it. I still think this is Stellan Skarsgård to win. And you know what's funny, Malcolm? I just rewatched Good Will Hunting because our friends over the Dill Pickle Movie Network are going to be doing 1997 in their next year. And one of those movies is Good Will Hunting. And Stellan Skarsgård, what a good performance in that movie. That's almost like 30 years ago that he was in Good Will Hunting, Stellan Skarsgård. And he was young back then. He was young in that movie. And in Sentimental Value, he's kind of old.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those ones like this is actually one of the few times where like I think snub definitely does apply to Paul Mescal because I think it's one of those ones like as I've been saying is like if the one better after other people split, then I would have like Paul Mescal would have had a good shot of winning the category because of that. So I mean, like this is one of those categories where anything can happen, and I'm kind of interested in seeing what happens and seeing if like one of the one better after others can actually survive the split, and one of them does end up winning.
That'd be crazy. It'd be crazy if that happens, right?
Yeah, but talking about splits, because moving on to supporting actress, we've got Elle Fanning from Sentimental Value. We've also got Inga Ibstotter Lilius for Sentimental Value. We've got Amy Madigan for Weapons, Wunmi Musaku for Sinners, Teyana Taylor for One Bad After Another. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the nominations for supporting actress?
Yeah, I'll just say this: last year we didn't have a category would have had two actors from the same movie, which broke up a trend of 4 or 5 years in a row. I think it was that we had two actors from the same movie that were nominated in a category, and this year we get two. So it was interesting that both the One Battle After Another actors get in, and then in Sentimental Value we get the two actresses get in for Sentimental Value. So I'd like to see Elle Fanning once again. People talk about last year with the Bob Dylan biopic that she should have been in instead of Monica Barbaro, but whatever happened, it happened. We can't change that now. But so they make up for her and get her in here. But she's also, I think, got some goodwill because of Predator Badlands. I think she's really good in Predator Badlands. And maybe people are thinking about her in that and say, oh, okay, I'm going to put her in here. Who knows? You don't know. But yeah, so that's another one of the makeups I feel. People might argue that I'm wrong. Who knows? But this is a interesting category, and we're going to talk about the Baftas here soon. The presumed quote unquote favorite here didn't even get nominated in the Baftas, so that's interesting. How Best Supporting Actress definitely is going to go to somebody different over at the Baftas, and then obviously Amy Madigan did get in at the SAG, so she could pull off the SAG Oscar double. Unless they decide like the upset that people are, it's like that famous kind of like Jamie Lee Curtis, like that trendy upset. Kate Hudson, really? I don't know, Malcolm.
You're looking at the wrong category. Kate Hudson's.
I was an actress. My bad. Yeah. My fault. She's a lead actress. My fault. Totally my fault. No, but Amy Madigan, yeah. So. She's probably going to be the winner of this category because she put in. I think Scott Mantz said on FYC it was 1986 was her last nomination, and it may be so 86 to 2026. So that's 40
years.
40 years between nominations, Malcolm. Is that the longest span between nominations for an actor in the history of the Academy Awards? That'd be a stat that would be broken if she ends up pulling off the win there,
but
there's a lot to unpack with supporting actress. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah. So Judge Hirsch holds the longest gap between acting nominations with 42, separating his supporting actor nominations for Ordinary People from 81 and The Fabelmans for 2023. And then Amy Madigan is second on the list.
Wow.
Although they don't really have this in... Actually, no. Henry Fonda is second with 41 because he was nominated for the Grapes of Wrath in 1941 and On Golden Pond at 82. Amy Madigan is third with 40. Then you've got Helen Hayes for 39. And then Jack Palance and Alan Arkin are tied on 38.
Wow. So this is an interesting category of names. I like the names that are on this category.
But yeah, I mean, other notable sort of gaps, but he's been nominated many times between this, but when it's been 48, Robert De Niro's been sort of nominated sort of on and off for 48 years. Was like his first nomination was 75, and then 2024 obviously was his latest nomination. So it's like 48 years and getting a few Oscar nominations in between that, I think, is amazing.
48 years is a long gap. That's a long gap.
Well, I mean, it's not gap between nominations. So
I mean, span. I used the wrong word. I said gap. I meant span.
Yeah, no, I knew what you meant. But yeah, anyway, it's one of those ones. I know a lot of people was like, "Oh, Amy Madigan didn't get nominated for the BAFTAs. Like, she's in trouble." But it's like, I mean, look, and it's one of those yes, BAFTA has been proven to be a big predictor on who's going to win, but it's also one of those ones like the BAFTAs is not really one that's going to go out there and nominate a horror movie. They're really not. And they also do their voting a little bit different too, because I think with their jury system, they pick two people that they're going to save, and then it's just basically a battle for three or four spots. I think they've got one more. So I think they've got one more in the acting categories than that.
Yeah, they have six. They have six. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically they a battle on who's going to be in the other four that they get nominated. Which but I mean the lineup is I think is pretty good. It's basically what I kind of predicted. And yeah, I don't really have any thoughts. And I do think Amy Madigan could end up pulling out the win. But they're moving on to lead actress. We've got Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue, Renate Reinsve for Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone for Begonia, who the Oscars just really love. And yeah, I don't really have any issues with this category. I do think Kate Hudson was great in Song Sung Blue. I know a lot of people were once again upset that Cynthia Erivo did not get nominated for Good, but there was no way she was getting nominated at this point. It was only Ariana which had any hope of sneaking in, if anything, and she just didn't have that power behind her. And I think part of it comes from how Ariana and Cynthia were sort of promoting the movie, because I know a lot of people are theorizing that the only reason they both kind of got nominated for the first one is because they quite often were doing their campaigning together, but because of their different schedules, they were both campaigning separately, which they think might have hurt them a little bit. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because it's we've said this time and time again, it's between Jessie Buckley and Rose Byrne at this point. One of them is going to win. Jessie Buckley is a hot favorite, but I think Rose Byrne is also picking up steam as well. But Dan, what are your thoughts about lead actress?
No, this is going to be a tough category. I think the two leads, like you said, you already mentioned, are going to be Rose Byrne and Jessie Buckley, and it's just a matter of who people deem as the most worthy. But with the Paul Mescal snub, and I think you got to kind of say to yourself, could there be a possibility of an upset here? And Jessie Buckley does get upset by somebody like Rose Byrne or Kate Hudson. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that'll correlate here? That snub between from Paul Mescal, from Hamnet, maybe Hamnet's not as strong, or is this kind of like a slam dunk win for her?
So, like, I don't know. It's one of those ones. Like, I always hate it when people after seeing a movie like, oh, Jessie Buckley's amazing. She's definitely winning the Oscars. Like, slow roll. Just wait till maybe we can have a proper discussion about this. But we've got the nominations. I think at this point, I think Jessie Buckley is strong enough that I think she can still pull out the win regardless of Paul Mescal missing, because I do think she was the stronger part of Hamnet, to be honest. But I think if for Kate Hudson to have a shot at maybe causing an upset, I think she would have to win SAG to get her in that conversation. But at this point, because Rose Byrne and Jessie Buckley both won their respective Globe categories, I think it's definitely between those two, unless something happens at SAG which shows, well, hang on, maybe they're not as strong as we think.
No, you make a good point. No, I mean, you're laying it all out there, Malcolm. I agree with you. I will just add this to what you're saying. The fact that the Golden Globes are about 90 people from foreign countries, 90 journalists, and the SAG is 160,000 actors, a much bigger body of people they're going to vote, and that acting body also is the largest body of Oscar voters, is the acting body. So I think if Kate Hudson does pull off the win at SAG, there's a legitimate shot that she's got a chance to win the Oscar because of the amount of people that vote. Where, yeah, they're foreign body of people and they're journalists, but it's a much smaller number of people that voted for Jessie Buckley and Rose Byrne at the Golden Globes. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, I gathered that's what you were saying. Like, I wasn't saying you're wrong. But yeah, but it's one of those ones. Like, at the end of the day, it depends on sort of because I think if it's one of those categories where like there wasn't really a strong lead in the category, then I think it's one of those ones where, well, like it's going to come down to how they feel about the movie versus who they think is the most deserving. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones. Like, I think out of all the nominations, I think like if anyone is going to cause an upset, I honestly do think it is going to be Kate Hudson, because like when you think about it, like Emma Stone has won before, so it's like whether or not the acting bunch like her performance in Begonia a lot, then I don't see her winning. Kate Hudson is one of those ones that like has been around a long time and sort of been nominated a few times. And
well, it's a 25-year gap between her last nomination for Almost Famous.
Yeah, and there's some people who'll be like, I mean, she should have been lead for Almost Famous. Like, there's a lot of argument over should she have been supporting that year anyway, but that's a whole sort of another thing. but you've also got Renee Reinsve, who I don't remember if she was nominated for the Worst Person in the World.
I believe, don't quote me. If I'm wrong, please tell us in the comments. I think she got left out of Best Actress for the Worst Person in the World. And it was one of those surprises that year. Renata. Her name is Renata Reinsve, and I believe this might be another makeup. If I'm not mistaken, it could be another makeup.
Yeah, she wasn't nominated for Best Person in the World. This was her first Oscar nomination. But I mean, it's one of those ones like I'll fight back to it being a makeup because I think she was sentimental value is a better performance between the two movies, even though I do like both of those movies.
Wow.
So I do think she was more deserving for sentimental value anyway.
All right.
But it's also one of those ones like, but because this is her first nomination, the acting branch might go, well, like, she's definitely a strong actress, and she's probably going to get more roles. And in fact,
she was in the Sebastian Stan movie last year, and something of the Bringing Out the Dead, a movie about zombies last year. I saw her twice in two movies the year before, is what I'm saying. The year before, I saw her twice in two movies the year before, and then obviously I just saw her in Sentimental Value. So she's starting to get more roles.
Yeah, I mean, no, what I was about to say is that there's some news that came out today that that Alexander Payne is going to be doing a Danish movie called Somewhere Out There, which she's going to be in that cast.
That sounds good.
So yeah, like so she's definitely going to get a lot of roles, like look, and it's one of those ones I've always said, like, for some actresses the nomination is the win for them. Like, it gets them out there. People are going to see there's like, we're going to have to snap her up, we're going to get her in more things. She's a great actress, and like, it's one of those ones like, for some like they want to win, but it's like, but getting the nomination is a good way to get their career sort of maybe kick started and stuff, and
I agree,
get more juicy roles. But
it makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, Malcolm. It makes a lot of sense.
But I think that is all we've got to say on this.
Well, Chase Infinity, I think you want to talk about kickstarting a career. She kind of got the boot. Hey, honey, give us a couple more performances before you get in here.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this was a very strong category. Like, there was like 6 or 7 actresses vying for these 5 spots. Like Kate Hudson was that kind of one that got like, that was kind of picking up steam at the right time to get in. And I honestly do think like, we'll see Chase Infinity eventually get an Oscar nomination.
Hopefully. I mean, I still believe she was the heart and soul of that movie. That movie doesn't work as well as it does without her, but I agree with you. She's a good young actress, and we're going to see. I saw McKenna Grace all those years ago in Gifted, and she's gotten all kinds of roles since then. So this is just the stepping stone for her performance in Presumed Innocence on Apple, and then now this for When Battle After. She's going to get a lot of work. I think this is going to really help her career out. So it's sad that she didn't get in, but what are you going to do? Because they do like those surprises on the red carpet. You know what I'm saying, Malcolm? That's why I kind of would have liked like Ava Victor and Chase Infinity. Those would have been some really cool surprises on the red carpet. Underdogs, I would call it underdogs.
To be fair, we're probably still going to see Chase Infinity talked on the red carpet because, like because of her being a part of One Battle After Another as a whole anyway. So it's not like her not being nominated doesn't mean she's not going to get a chance.
She's got a nomination technically, Malcolm. If you put her as part of the cast.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm saying. But moving on to Best Lead Actor, We've got Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme. We've got Leonardo DiCaprio for One Better After Another. We've got Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moore for The Secret Agent. Basically, the 5 we all kind of expected.
5 for 5 in that category. Yep.
Yeah. But Dan, any thoughts on this, or was like basically?
Yeah, Leo's got this in the bag. He's going to win. I mean, Timothy's got this in the bag. I think he's going to win it. He's going to win it running away. I don't see any of these 5 winning this category besides him.
Yeah. I mean, the only other one that I can see maybe causing the upset here is maybe Ethan Hawke once again as a career. I mean,
career Oscar for Ethan Hawke here, Malcolm. That'd be amazing, man. Wow, I mean, I wasn't thinking about that, but you're right. A career Oscar win for Ethan Hawke here. Holy moly.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those ones like, if anyone's going to cause the upset, I think Ethan Hawke is probably the better shot at maybe causing the upset for that reason. Because either that or maybe Wagner Moore, but
I don't think the Brazilian Mafia is that deep in the Oscars compared to the Golden Globes.
Well, I mean
the Brazilian Mafia now.
Well, I wasn't saying it because of the Brazilian. Like, I mean, like as you said, like Wagner Moore's been acting a lot, and like he could be well. For all we know, he could be well respected in the acting branch as it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the Brazilian contingent. It's like, that as I said, I think it's one of those ones where I'm pretty sure, like, it's going to be Timothy Chalamet unless something weird happens at SAG and someone else wins that. Then it's like we don't really know anymore.
Yeah, that would be wild if something else happened at SAG.
Yeah, but moving on.
That's where I think Ethan Hawke might have a shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's what I was meaning. Like, but I think if Ethan Hawke wins at SAG, then that could mean Ethan Hawke could win here. So
wow, that'd be wild.
But at this stage, any chances of a surprise, we don't know until the SAG happens. But moving on to Best Directing, we've got Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, PTA for One Better After Another, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, Ryan Coogler's for Sinners. It's basically the 5 we kind of expected.
Well, I had Guillermo, and at the last minute, like the night before or something like that, I changed it, and I did put Joachim Trier in here. A lot of people didn't have Safdie in here. They had Jafar Panahi, but I split the difference and went with Trier and Safdie instead of 2 foreign directors with Jafar Panahi and Trier. You know, so that's why I ended up with 5 for 5.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone like is kind of for me, if anyone was going to miss, it probably would have been Josh. If someone like Jafar Panahi was going to get in, and that was kind of my fear at the moment. Was like I was kind of thinking, look, if Jafar Panahi gets in, like people are going to look at it as like, did he deserve to be there, or is he just there because they feel sorry for everything he's gone through? But
good point. You make a good point. I mean, it's a valid point, Malcolm.
But it's also
and technically Chloe Zhao is Chinese.
Well, yeah, but it's all English. We've had this argument before. Dan.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm just saying we technically.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're meaning. We've talked about that before. Yeah. But yeah, nothing much more to talk about on that. Moving on to Best Picture, we've got Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. I'm not upset with anything that got into here. Like some of these, like Train Dreams, I'm not that high on. But I think it's one of those cases where it's like it got in a few other places. Like I get why it's here. And yeah, and like F1 was a surprise, but I mean, but that's the sort of blockbuster pick for here. Although it's one of those interesting ones where it's like, even though it wasn't like a big like movie box office wise, you could there's an argument you can make for both Sinners and One Battle After Another being sort of blockbuster-ish in a way as well, like with their style and stuff. And Warner Brothers made a record because there's three Warner Brothers in here. Technically, because F1 is a hybrid of Warner Brothers and Apple, but it's like three Warner Brothers made the list. So even though I was wrong with the third Warner Brothers movie that I thought was going to make it in here, because I had weapons, but I did predict there was going to be three Warner Brothers. I'm just saying that, putting that out there. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the Best Picture lineup?
Yeah, I had it was just an accident in here instead of I had three neon because I thought there was a strength behind the neon films, but obviously that didn't happen. We got the strength behind the Warner Brothers films instead. And if you look at the package of sound, editing, and cinematography was it for F1, sound editing and some. That was a good enough package. And we've talked about that in the past where if you can get three techs, maybe that's a good enough package to get into Best Picture. And it turned out it was a good enough package to get in. We're going to look at that in the future where you say, hey, three techs, for F1. And that was a good enough to get them in. Plus, I know you're going to say this. They snubbed Joseph Kosinski for Top Gun Maverick a couple of years ago. This could be a makeup for Joseph Kosinski in a way because he directed both Top Gun Maverick and he directed F1, and he gets now F1 into Best Picture and Top Gun Maverick. Two Joseph Kosinski movies and back-to-back movies for him. And this is Jerry Bruckheimer's second, both Top Gun Maverick and now F1. So Jerry Bruckheimer has gotten in now the last two movies he's made for I think you hit the nail on the head. This is the populist blockbuster type movie. It made over $600 million worldwide. I've talked to people, Malcolm, that have went to saw this 3 or 4 times. It's like, really? You're going to see this 3 or 4 times? This is the movie you're going to see a bunch, And it was surprising that people saw this that many times, And it was people older than me that were going to this movie multiple times, which like, wow, that's kind of weird, But I was one off. I went 9 for 10 of my Best Picture nominees, but that's not bad. It's still not bad. 9 for 10. I mean, I did pretty good. Or 75% on the whole, because I had some kind of out there predictions, But I mean, it could have been a lot worse, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think, look, it's going to come down to Sinners in One Battle After Another, Malcolm. I mean, it's one of them two who's going to win. I think it's One Battle because I think it's PTA's year. I think he's got director. I think he's got adapted screenplay, and I think he's got picture. I think he's going to come home with 3 Oscars, PTA.
Well, see, this is one of those ones that because Sinners was so loved at the Oscars, and so it wouldn't really surprise me if it takes out Best Picture, but we get like PTA get directives and get something. So it's definitely one of those interesting things that we can have, and and as Brian pointed out, like there's like 3 Warner Brothers, 1 Apple movie, technically, even though it's 2 in the same, 2 Neo movies, 2 Netflix movies, 2 Focus features, and then 1 A24 movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've been doing the math for months. Me and you have about what we think is going to get in. No Searchlight, no 20th Century Fox, no Universal. Isn't that crazy?
No Paramount.
No Paramount. Isn't that wild?
Yeah. But let's be honest, like Searchlight have been bungling their release dates. But
They have.
But that we're going to transition to the BAFTAs. Some of these categories we may go through very quickly because a lot of them ended up being the same. But as I started off with the Oscars, I'm going to do the same for the BAFTAs. The most, and this is interesting because the movie that received the most nominations at the BAFTAs was One Battle After Another with 14. And I had to look this up because the record for the BAFTAs was 16. Do you know what movie that was for?
I'm going to say Lawrence of Arabia.
No, it would have been. It was Gandhi. Gandhi in 1982 got 16 nominations. So no movie broke that record yet. Although I think there's less room for anything to do that at the BAFTAs. I don't know how many categories that it could have won. And then second place at the BAFTAs was Sinners, and then you had Hamnet, Marty Supreme, like with 11. So it's like, so not as much love for Sinners, but still a lot of love for Sinners in the same way. But moving on to the category for categories, they've got a category called EE Rising Star Award, which I think is the only award the BAFTAs do that voted on by the public. And the nominations is Robert Aramayo, Miles Catton, Chase Infinity, Archie Maddoxey, and Posey Sterling.
What were the movies? Because it's what I swear.
It doesn't say them. It doesn't say the movies on any of these.
I think Robert Aramayo is what I swear. Archie Maddoxey is Lurker. It's Lurker for him. God, would you? God, I already forgot what you said.
Robert, even though it doesn't count for the BAFTAs, Robert Aramayo was Eddard Stark in Game of Thrones.
Oh, was he really?
He was in a movie called. He was in 2 movies last year. One called Palestine 36, and the other is a movie called I Swear, which I think is the one that he was there for.
Yeah, it's I Swear. It's I Swear. Yeah.
And then Posey Sterling, Posey Sterling last year was in a. I think I'm pretty sure it was the movie Lollipop. Because it's the only sort of movie that she was in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Archie was Lurker. Who were the other ones?
Miles Catton from Sinners, Chase Infinity from One Battle After Another.
Yeah. That's so. Yeah, I swear I reached out for a screener of I Swear and I haven't been able to get it. So I can't see. I can't watch that movie. I haven't seen it.
But moving on to they have now. They don't have Best Animated Movie. I think they've changed it to Children's and Family Film, which is
and there's only 4, right?
It's only 4, and in which K-pop wasn't eligible because it didn't have like a week-long theatrical one in the UK. It only had like a couple of special releases for Halloween and stuff. But the nominations in Children's and Family Film, they had Arco, Boong, Lilo and Stitch, and Zootropolis 2, which is what Zootopia 2 is known as in the UK. Because I think they've got a actual zoo called Zootopia or something like that. But
yeah, they do. I think they have a Disney theme park over there and they call it Zootropolis or whatever.
But it's not overly surprising. And once again, because they did Children's and Family Film, they kind of opened it up to other live action ones. And I think Lilo and Stitch is probably the best choice to get in there. Is because Elio's just not known. And for those that are going, so I know Brian's watching. Yes, a very obvious movie isn't here, Paddington to Peru, but in the UK that was released in 2024, so it wouldn't have been eligible for this year's Oscars. This year's BAFTAs. So
that's exactly right, Malcolm. You're on top of it as always, buddy. Yeah, this is Zootropolis, Zootopia. It's got to win this, don't you think, Malcolm?
Yeah, I don't think there's I don't think there's any. I don't think there's a rule where anything else wins. Like out of these four, I think it's the movie that I think is the most likely to win. Like, because with K-pop not being here, then yeah.
Yep.
But for British short form, they've got Megan Zafar, Nostalgia, Terence, This Is Endometrius, Welcome Home, Freckles, and then British short animation, they've got Cardboard Solstice, Two Black Boys in Paradise. I have no idea what any of those are.
Me neither.
Moving on. We've got outstanding debut for British writer, director, or producer.
Ooh, okay.
This is just like a mixed bag where it's like
Yeah.
it's not that they do. It doesn't have to be.
Interesting category.
But nominations is The Ceremony, My Father's Shadow, Pillion, which I'm pretty sure Jeff Snyder is a really big fan of, Want in Her, and Raced Man.
I'm seeing Pillion on Tuesday.
Yeah.
What were the other ones again? Sorry.
The Ceremony, My Father's Shadow, A Want in Her, and Raced Man. I've not heard any of those other ones.
Yeah. I could have swore I heard of the Ceremony, though. That's weird. But okay. No problem. Yeah, I'm seeing Pillion on Tuesday.
Yeah. But moving on to outstanding British film, we got 28 years later, we've got The Ballad of Wallace Island, got Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy, we've got Die My Love, which I didn't realize until now it was produced by Martin Scorsese. H is for Hawk, which is the new Brendan Gleeson movie, which was just released in the States it was either last week or was released this weekend.
This week,
yeah. We've got Hamnet, we've got I Swear, we've got Mr. Burton, we've got Pillion, and we've got Steve.
I've seen all of these but two, Malcolm. I've seen every one of these but two. Mr. Burton and I Swear are the only two I haven't seen. But all the other ones I've seen, this is a good category. I'll tell you what, I really like this category. But I love the fact that 28 years later is in this category. That's cool that they got like Hamnet's in here. H is when you get a chance to see H is for Hawk, you'll really like it. It's got Brendan Gleeson and Claire Foy. This is a good category, Malcolm. I really enjoy this category because I've seen the movie. Steve is on Netflix, so if you haven't seen it, it's got our Oscar winner from a couple of years ago, Cillian Murphy. So yeah, there's a lot of good films in here. I mean, I don't know what would you say Hamnet was in here?
Yeah,
that's gonna win. I think that's gonna win this category.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like when we get to like best film, I can't remember if it's in both, but like if it's in best film, then maybe something else could win here. Maybe I don't know. I'll remind myself when we get to that. But I mean, if Pillion is as good as Jeff Snyder thinks it is, then I could see a world in which something else other than Hamlet wins outstanding.
Let me tell you what Pillion's about, Malcolm. You want to know?
I know. I've seen the trailer. I know vaguely what it's about. So
okay, all right. I don't think that's gonna win.
Yeah. I mean, it's like as I said, if anything's going to surprisingly pull out the win in that category, it could be something like Pillion or something like that. Like,
right.
I mean, the Hamlet is probably the safe bet. But moving on to best special visual effects, we've got Avatar: Fire and Ash, F1, Frankenstein, How to Train Your Dragon, and The Lost Bus. Four of the which we've already talked about when we come to the Oscars, but How to Train Your Dragon, I think is a that visual effects is good. So I'm glad it got some love somewhere. But
yeah, agree.
But once again, like it's probably going to be Avatar for next still. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the visual effects for the Baftas?
Yeah, this is Avatar. I'd be shocked if it was something else, but this is par for the course, which is good. You know, you want to see some connectivity with the other award shows, and so. But How to Train Your Dragon in here was nice to see that.
Yeah, but moving on to best sound, we've got F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, and Sinners, which were all in the Oscar 5, and then rounding out the 5 is Warfare.
Yeah,
Yeah, go Warfare, go. Actually,
but that
no.
movie, I love that movie. You know how much
Don't take that out of context.
No, I love the movie, Malcolm, and I was glad.
Yeah.
I think he got unjustly snubbed in sound, and I believe it was it not even on the long list in sound or something like that.
No, but it's one of those. I think it's one of those ones. But I think the movie kind of came and went. I think it didn't really. I think it's one of those ones that it just didn't really.
No, I agree.
Had the staying power in people's mind. Which I'm not too surprised, but it's like I'm glad to see it getting some love somewhere.
Yeah.
But moving on to production design, we've got Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle of Another, and Sinners, which is pretty much what we got at the Oscars.
No big deal here. This is what we got. Yeah. This is once again some connectivity.
It's the same with original score. We've got Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle of Another, and Sinners. Basically the same. Best makeup, and here we've got Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Sinners, and Wicked for Good getting some love somewhere.
Sad to see no ugly stepsister, but what are you gonna
do? And Cuckoo Ho, but
Cuckoo, yeah.
Just Cuckoo kind of got, but once again, it's one of those ones. I'm not overly surprised. Maybe it didn't get like a big release in the States.
It's coming out this week. It's actually coming out next week in the States. So it's the Asian or the Asian whatever Academy Awards. Have they already done the Asian Academy Awards? Because they do their own, or Japanese Academy.
I don't know. I don't follow those ones.
Well, they do. No, I bet you Cuckoo does better over there.
Yeah.
Because it's about kabuki dancers and stuff,
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those ones like because I think Hamnet was the other one that got in here that missed out, and it's one of those ones like it's a British movie. I'm not surprised that Mulan is shot in.
Yeah, exactly.
But moving on to best editing, we've got F1, House of Dynamite, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. So no sentimental value here, but it was House of Dynamite instead.
And we knew that had good. We know that has good editing. That's just, it just didn't translate overall as a movie in the Oscars. So the fact that it gets in for editing kind of makes sense.
I don't think the editing is that great in the House of Dynamite. I'm sorry, Dan.
All right. No problem.
I think it's just got too much chaotic editing. It was like But anyway, moving on to costume design, we've got Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and Sinners, which is basically before we got the Oscars, and then Wicked for Good also getting in for costume design as well, which
these are the places we thought were going to get it in the Oscars, and it didn't get in, but it's getting in over at the Baftas.
Yeah, but once again, that could just come down to the fact that that could just come down to the fact that maybe a lot of people at the BAFTAs thought the Avatar was more CGI than anything. So, but who knows? Or they just legitimately think that the stuff that was added for the costumes, I think they thought were great. But cinematography, we've got Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, One Battle of Another, Sinners, and Train Dreams, which is the 5 we had at the Oscars. Nothing much exciting there. For their best casting award, they've got I Swear, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners.
The only outlier being I Swear.
Yeah, but once again, it's the British branch, so I Swear would have had a big release over there. So
Sentimental was a European film.
Well, but that is just it's one of that too, but yeah. But it's one of those ones like I'm not too surprised about any of these, like really.
No.
And yeah, and Sinners Married Supreme, One Better Than Another, we're basically in the Oscars 5 as well.
Yeah.
Best film not in the English language. It was that it was just an accent. The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Surat, and the voice of Hind Rajab, which is the Oscar 5.
Yeah, they're the Oscar 5. Yeah.
Best documentary at the Baftas. They've got 2,000 meters to Andrivka, Apocalypse in the Tropics, Cover Up, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and The Perfect Neighbor.
3 Netflix movies in there, and those are the 2 that I think everybody thought were kind of surprised at. 3 of the ones that people were surprised that didn't get in the Oscars that got into BAFTAs. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like Perfect Neighbor and Mr. Nobody Against Putin seem to be the 2 stronger tenders. Then, therefore, it's like if they're in both, it's like, so it's probably going to be one of those 2 that wins at BAFTAs and Oscars. But that's interesting. They've actually got Best Children's and Family Film as well as Best Animated Movie. So the nominations for Best Animated Movie is Zootropolis 2, Elio, and Little Amelie, or the character of Rain. They only ever have 3 in the best animated category. But so Elio does get a nomination at the BAFTAs, but once again, no K-pop Demon Hunters category. I think Zootropolis 2 might end up walking away with 2 BAFTA awards.
Yeah, and then No Arco, which was they went with the other French movie instead.
Well,
that was the one
they gave Arco some love in the other categories. So like, I think.
Yeah.
Or the other thing is like maybe Lilo and Stitch wins Children and Family, and then Zootropolis 2 wins Animated. So it's like,
wow.
So I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised, honestly. Like
Disney doing good, Pixar and Disney having a good field day that day. They'd love that, right?
Mm-hmm. But moving on to adapted screenplay, they've got One Battle After Another, The Ballad of Wallace Island, which is actually based on a short film done by the same people, Pillion, Begonia, and Hamnet. So they've got 3 out of the 5 that was at the Oscars, but with the addition of The Ballad of Wallace Island and Pillion. And I mean, I will say this about Ballad of Wallace Island, like I really enjoyed the script for that. I think it is a really solid, like, underrated movie. And
very good movie, Malcolm. Very good movie.
And I'm not. Once again, it's a British movie. I'm not just too surprised to see it here get a bit of love, but yeah, I don't think there's much more we need to say unless you want to say anything about adapted screenplay.
No, it made that movie Wallace Island was on my top 10 list of halfway through the year. So you know how much I love that movie. Seeing that pop up is seeing movies that were on my top 10 list halfway through the year, like Warfare and 28 Years Later and Wallace Island. These movies pop up. It perks me up a little bit to see that these movies are getting a little bit of love, you know?
Yeah. And then moving on to original screenplay, we've got Marty Supreme, Sinners, The Secret Agent, I Swear, and Sentimental Value. So basically, like, we've got 3 like heavy hitters there with the Oscars. Then you got like Secret Agent and I Swear sort of getting in here as well. But
yeah, don't be surprised if I Swear pulls up the upset here.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones, like, for a lot of these categories, you would have to think like the British movie is probably going to end up pulling out the win.
Somewhere, a few places.
Yeah. But then moving on to Best Supporting Actress, and they went with Odessa Azion for Marty Supreme. They went with Inga Ibsdottir-Lilius for Sentimental Value. They went with Wunmi Musaku for Sinners, Carey Mulligan for The Ballad of Wallace Island, Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another, and Emily Watson for Hamnet.
Yeah, they went their whole gambit here, didn't they, Malcolm? They went all over the place and threw Carey Mulligan in there, the one that nobody, but with their love of Wallace Island, makes sense that Carey Mulligan's in here. Wow, they went all over the place, which is good. I like that they have 6 nominees and they just kind of spread the love all over the place, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those ones like with because I mean we kind of alluded to it when we talked about the Oscars, with Amy Madigan in here that um well at this point I'll still would put all my money on Amy Madigan winning supporting actress at the Oscars.
Yeah.
But this could make
All right, so Malcolm had some Wi-Fi issues here, so I'm hoping to get him back any second now, and here he is.
Yeah, it glitched out. I got a screen going. Make sure you connect with the internet, which is weird because I was connected to the internet. But anyway, but yeah, as I was saying, it's going to make things interesting for who's going to win here because is it going to be Tiana Taylor winning here, or is it going to be like something like a Carey Mulligan or someone who wasn't nominated for the Oscar, which could get in? But
Wumi Musaku is British, I might add.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I kind of figured that.
I just want to say that she's black, but she's also British.
Yeah.
Because people might not know that.
But moving on to supporting actor, which is Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Paul Mescal for Hamnet, Peter Mullen for I Swear, Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value, which is largely the same as the Oscars, just with Paul Mescal and Peter Mullen in here, and no Delroy Lindo. Which
they love Peter Mullen over there, I'll tell you that right now. And it makes sense they got Paul Mescal in a British movie, Hamnet, playing one of the great Brits of all time, Shakespeare. You knew they were going to put him in there.
Well, I mean, as it's kind of been a little bit obvious, they really do love they really do love Hamnet over
anything about Shakespeare, you know they're going to eat that up.
Yeah, and as far as I can tell, this might actually this might actually be Peter Mullen's first nomination.
Well, no, he has got to have gotten a BAFTA before that. What was it? A swimming. Wasn't there a movie where he was swimming or doing something that he might have won? Where he was swimming across the English Channel or something like that. Didn't he win a BAFTA for that, Peter Mullen?
I honestly don't know.
They love Peter Mullen over there. I'm not surprised he hasn't. Before.
So this is his first acting nomination.
What?
He was and he was part of the cast for a movie in 2003.
Wow, man. What was the movie he was in where he was swimming across the English Channel or something? I don't know what. I thought God almighty, that's weird.
But I don't know, but yeah. And then he was also nominated for a screenplay on that same movie of 2003. It would either be Young Adam or Kiss of Life.
I don't know. Those don't ring a bell to me, but whatever.
Yeah,
we all know him from Harry Potter.
Yeah,
and he's been in a lot of other things. But
Peter Mullen wasn't in Harry Potter.
Yes, he was. Peter Mullen was one of the guys in the last episode where they replaced him, and he was one of the mentors, one of the bad guys, one of the bad wizards that were coming after.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
He had long hair though.
Yeah. No, I just didn't remember that. But then again, I've probably only ever seen him in passing. Anyway. But moving on to lead actor, we've got Robert Aramayo for I Swear, Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and then Jesse Plemons for Begonia.
No Wagner Moura.
No, yeah, but but I mean, it's one of those ones like, with the exception of the International Feature Award, maybe the movie didn't get a wide release in the States, but they might have a different criteria for the international.
It got in screenplay. It got in screenplay and
yeah,
and international over in the BAFTA. So it got two.
But yeah, but I think once again, I think this comes down to because Robert Aramayo would have had to have been one of the people that was like the jury picked, and then maybe Timothy Chalamet was the other one, and then the other 4 spots was the one that was that kind of voted on.
Yeah.
So once again, like with 5 actors for 4 spots, I think it's like one of them had to miss. But
oh yeah.
But nothing really big surprising with this category. Like, a lot of it is pretty standard what we've got at the Oscars.
You're just going to see I Swear a lot at the BAFTAs, obviously, because it's a British movie, and Pillion and stuff like, and Hamnet showed up a lot of places. So yeah, these are just British films. So you might not know them over here in the States, but they're just British films.
I mean, you will know them eventually. They will get because I think they're releasing soon.
Pillion comes out next week here.
Yeah. Then you got lead actress, which the nominations is Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Rose Byrne for If I Did So I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue, Chase and Vinny for One Battle After Another, Renate Reinsve for Sentimental Value, Emma Stone for Begonia. It's basically the Oscar 5 plus Chase Infinity.
And it's probably really Jessie Buckley, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, Jessie Buckley not winning at BAFTAs would be a big deal.
Yeah, I think so. And then Rose Byrne's British, but I just don't see her beating Jessie Buckley, considering the movie Jessie Buckley is in. Right?
Rose Byrne's Australian. She's not British.
Oh, so there you go. And hey, good.
Yeah.
There you go, Australian. I made that mistake. That's right. She is Australian. I should have known that because I heard her speak not that long ago.
Yeah. And then moving on to Best Director, we've got Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Ryan Coogler for Sinners, Yorgos Lanthimos for Begonia, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. Basically, the Oscar 5 plus Yorgos. I'm not overly surprised about anything there.
Yeah, Guillermo. I mean, would have been kind of. I would have predicted more Guillermo than Yorgos, but I mean, whatever. I mean, he's a European director. Joachim's a European director. They got a couple of European directors in there. So, but
yeah. I mean, there's one of those ones like I would because of the BAFTAs, I would argue that Yorgos probably had to have been 6, like at least 6th or 7th, and at the Oscars. So he probably, like, along with Del Toro, he would have just missed out.
I think he had to be right there, Guillermo, right?
Yeah. And then Best Film, is they've got Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners, which is basically 5 of the 10 of the Best Picture race. But
it's not 6. They don't do 6 in picture.
No, they only do 5.
Oh, okay. Wow, they do 6 in acting, all them acting categories, and director. They don't do 6 in picture. It doesn't make any sense. But whatever. I mean, who knows?
Well, I mean, they probably just it's probably just the way that they want to do things, because they've got 10 in like Best British Film, so it's probably one of those ones like Because I think the acting and the directors, I think they're the ones that have the jury pick 2 people. So I think it's probably a case of they want to be fair to the other race and have the other 4 and have like 4 people be voted in, rather than like have like only 3 people be voted in. Rather, so, I don't know. I know BAFTAs do things different than the Oscars do, but that's the only reason I can see that they would probably have like 6 in those races and 5 in everything else. But it's only the acting and directors. They've got the 6 people in those ones. But yeah, but that is both the BAFTAs and the Oscar nominations, and so that's kind of like set the race for this year. If you haven't seen it, go and vote on the Gone for the Win Awards. The form is on the Take 3 Productions Facebook page now. So go and vote on that. And
I already voted, Malcolm.
Yeah, I saw. And
I just want to let you know, I already voted. You guys out there, you got to go vote because I already voted. So it's now your turn to go vote.
And so they'll be open till the end of February, and then I'll announce the Gone for the Win nomination site. I'm looking at the week of the Oscars to announce those nominations. I had a quick look at the Awards Watch thing. There won't be an episode next week. We've got a nice quiet week for a change. And then the week after is when we start getting winners for a bunch of things. Like DJ is announced on the 7th. I think SAG's around that time as well, and you got the PGA around that time as well. So so we're going to start seeing the winners start to shape up as we move along this race. So, but yeah, you won't see us next week. We've got a week off, and that. But Dan, is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you can find me underneath my name, Dan Scabell, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, X, whatever you call it, Threads, Blue Sky, Letterboxd, or any variation of DP Scabell or From the Fourth Row. Also, I'm on a lot of different shows. I'm on Rankum sometimes with Malcolm right here. Obviously, I'm over on the Movie Hero Network. I got shows coming up on the Movie Hero Network this week. We're going to be doing a tournament for the Swords and Sandals and Medieval Madness, they're calling it. We're doing Brendan Gleeson on Rankum. I also have my match for we had to reschedule it, so I'm having my match for that game show I created, or I helped create, called Movie Mutations. We're going to try to mutate Rocky, and so we're going to turn Rocky into something else. We'll see what that turns out to be. I'm also over there helping out with and doing stuff with the Dill Pickle Movie Network as well. So, and I'm on my website. I'm doing reviews left and right. 2 movies reviews dropped today. I'm going to be doing all 15 Oscar nominated shorts. You're going to be able to get one article with all capsule reviews on all the shorts. We got some of the docs that have been nominated for international for documentary coming up soon. Mr. Nobody, there'll be a review of that. I got all kinds of reviews. Anything that you want to go see in the movie theaters that you're thinking of, you can go to FromTheFourthRow.com and you can see if I have a review for it. We're doing trailers now, so and my guy Tyler's taking over the Golden Row articles, so he's going to have his BAFTA. These different articles coming up over during award season. So if you want to get a different perspective on award season, you can get Tyler's nominees and picks and thoughts about that. So yeah, I'm all over the place. You just got to find me.
And yeah, you can find me on Tape 3 Productions at those Rankum every week. Next week, Brendan Gleeson movies. And you can also find me popping up on the Movie Hero Net from time to time. And yeah, I'm looking to bring Spear from the Past back next week, and yeah, we'll be talking about TNA Final Resolution from December 2008. And yeah, that is the end of Gone for this week. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.